This week, Keir Starmer found himself under the spotlight, not once but twice, as he faced intense scrutiny during Prime Minister's questions and later at the Liaison Committee. While PMQs often provide a platform for politicians to skirt around the tough questions, the Liaison Committee demanded direct, unfiltered answers. What transpired was a riveting exchange that exposed Starmer's vulnerabilities, leaving him cornered as his figures and claims were ruthlessly challenged. Let's get to the heart of the matter. Starmer attempted to defend Labour's inheritance tax policies, insisting that they aim to strike a balance between generating revenue and protecting family farms. He cited statistics suggesting that the majority of farms would remain unaffected by the changes. However, committee members quickly honed in on his claims, identifying significant discrepancies in his data regarding agricultural and business property relief. The figure of 500 estates he mentioned fell apart under scrutiny, as it failed to account for critical exemptions that could leave many more farmers vulnerable than he suggested. Pressed for clarity, Starmer promised to review the figures, but his evasiveness was glaring. He artfully dodged questions about whether he would push the Chancellor to meet with farming unions, a request that had already been met with refusal. Instead of providing a definitive answer, he offered vague reassurances about his previous meetings with the NFU president, which did little to quell the rising frustration among the committee members. This lack of commitment to addressing the concerns of the farming community exposed a troubling pattern, a leader more focused on political optics than on making meaningful strides for those his policies impact. As the questioning intensified, one committee member emphasized the emotional toll that Labour's policies were taking on farmers, recounting a moment during a previous hearing when a witness broke down while discussing the struggles his business faced. Starmer's response was shockingly tone-deaf. Instead of acknowledging the gravity of the situation, he mechanically reiterated that he had met with the NFU president in a private setting, as if that alone sufficed to address the dire concerns being raised. His failure to empathize with the very real pain and frustration of farmers was a stark reminder of his disconnection from the people he claims to represent. Moreover, Starmer's insistence that there was no issue with meetings did little to mask his reluctance to hold the Chancellor accountable. The committee's mounting frustration was palpable, and each evasive answer he provided only served to deepen the suspicion that he was prioritizing political convenience over the urgent needs of the agricultural community. His approach felt less like a genuine engagement with pressing issues and more like a rehearsed political performance aimed at preserving his party's image. This week's events illuminated a critical truth about Starmer's leadership. He is fundamentally unprepared to confront the pressing challenges facing not only the agricultural sector but the broader landscape of the UK. His inability to offer decisive solutions and his repetitive defense of the status quo have left many questioning his competence and commitment to the very people he seeks to represent. Instead of stepping up to the plate and addressing the needs of struggling farmers, he reinforced a reputation for evasion and political posturing. Starmer's appearance at the Liaison Committee was a glaring testament to his shortcomings as a leader. Rather than seizing the opportunity to advocate for the farming community or to push for necessary changes in policy, he left committee members, and countless farmers, feeling frustrated and unheard. The stakes are high, and the consequences of inaction are dire for those whose livelihoods depend on the agricultural sector. As the dust settles from this week's confrontations, one thing is clear. Keir Starmer must re-evaluate his approach if he hopes to regain the trust of the farming community and the country at large. This is not merely about political survival. It's about the lives and livelihoods of millions who are affected by the decisions made at the top. The time for vague reassurances and evasive tactics has passed. Now is the moment for real engagement, accountability, and action. In summary, Starmer's recent performances have painted a troubling picture of a leader stuck in a cycle of political convenience while the people he claims to represent face mounting challenges. The lack of decisive action and genuine empathy for the farming community is not just a failure of leadership, it is a betrayal of the very principles he purports to stand for. If he wishes to turn this narrative around, he must start by listening to those most affected and taking their concerns seriously. The agricultural community deserves more than platitudes. They need a leader who will fight for their interests and advocate for meaningful change. The question remains, will Starmer rise to the occasion, or will he continue to crumble under pressure?